Scott, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Lauren. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I am as well. Like I was just sharing with you, it was so funny because I was bouncing around. I thought, oh my gosh, I crossed your profile and was so impressed. I think, let's see, you've written over 160 papers. I'm sure it's, I don't know how updated that number is and spoke at over 100 conferences, in
Yep.
practice management and award winning. I mean, a Wealthies Award, which is one of the most notable awards in this space, and Think Advisor Luminary Award in 2021. I mean, the list
Yep.
will go on, but I'll let you do a brief introduction
Sure.
and we can link to your bio and all that good stuff below. But I'm excited to get into it, and especially excited to hear more about this flat fee model and also just more
Yeah.
about practice management in general. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll let you
Okay.
take it from here.
Yeah. I'll just jump in. I'll just give you a little bit of background about my professional career. I started out life actually as a lawyer in Washington, D.C. I was a securities lawyer for about 15 years,
Wow.
and then went to work for one of my clients down in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And that firm was a pension consulting firm. So consulting on investment matters to very large institutions. And we were approached by some financial advisors who were interested in a lot of the things that we were doing for the institutions. And they wondered if we could put something together that would address the needs of independent financial advisors. And so we we had no idea really what the world of independent financial advisors looked like at that point. I mean, this
Right,
was 30 something years ago.
right.
And we ended up developing what was the first mutual fund TAMP program. So that was the first ever. There were a couple of TAMPs that were doing separate account work, but we were the first mutual fund TAMP. And
Mm,
so we grew that business. And then PMC, which is based here in Denver, where I am now, bought our firm.
mm-hmm.
And at PMC, we built the first platform that had both separately managed accounts and mutual fund portfolios on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then PMC was sold to another firm. Culturally, I didn't really mesh as well with that firm, and
Right.
so I left and formed my own consulting firm and did a lot of work with larger firms, Frank Russell, Nationwide Insurance, Schwab, JP Morgan Asset Management, and helped them develop investment programs for financial advisors. And then ended up going to work for one of my consulting clients in Houston,
Yeah.
U.S. fiduciary. And we built, I think, what was one of the first platforms for brokers who were leaving the wirehouse world and wanted to come out and have both a brokerage capability, but also a TAMP, somebody that could help them
Yep.
manage their assets. So did that for a while, and then I moved on to another TAMP that was run by some people that I knew from my earlier career, and we grew that business to a couple $1 billion. And that the kind of cool thing we did there, I think, was we started working with platforms like InvestNet and so forth to bring the investment capabilities to the platform world, and that that was a good experience. But at a certain point, I started developing these crazy ideas about flat fees, and
Yes.
and
Tell us
and
more.
my partners at that firm weren't as wild about my flat fee ideas as
Uh-huh.
I was, and so left that firm and started First Descent Asset Management with some people, most of whom I knew from earlier days. I'd worked with them before.
Mm.
My son actually was one of the people who joined the firm. He and I had worked together before too,
Yeah.
and we took this idea about trying to deliver outsourced portfolio management services to financial advisors, but for a flat fee, so
Mm-hmm.
that the fee didn't keep going up, as the account size went up.
Right.
And the idea was pretty simple and straightforward. And it just dawned on me at one point that if somebody was going to do that, and if it wasn't me, then it was going to be somebody else. So,
Yeah.
so we started down that path.
Can you share a little bit more? I mean, did you feel like that's really been a differentiator for you all in the
Oh
market?
yeah, yeah, it's been
Okay.
huge. We're still the only TAMP in the marketplace that
Mhm.
provides a full service flat fee
Mhm.
offering, and so it's been really uh, godsend for us, just because it's so clear. Everybody understands what it is.
Yeah.
It's a differentiator that is immediately understandable by anybody who hears about it. It's just,
Yeah.
and the benefits are very obvious. You can do the math and you can see how the clients would benefit greatly from having a flat fee.
Can you share a little bit more about that? How did you get to that end bottom line, for lack of a better expression? And
Yeah, sure. It
what,
was
yeah, and I would love to hear about how you position that as well,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
for the
Yeah.
firm.
Yeah. The thought process was pretty straightforward. So as I mentioned, we were at my previous firm, we were working through these platforms like InvestNet. So really what that business consisted of was we were developing portfolios
Mhm.
and giving them to InvestNet. And
Yep.
InvestNet did all the work to do the trading and implement the portfolios. So there was no operational burden on us whatsoever, right? So we
Mhm.
were it was like a piece of paper we'd send off to InvestNet, and they would implement the portfolios. And then all the financial advisors who worked with InvestNet, which was thousands of financial advisors, could get access to our portfolios. So it was
Mhm.
pretty cool business model. But when you think about it, we weren't doing any more work for big accounts than we were for small accounts. So the
Mhm.
logic of the AUM based fee in that environment just didn't make sense to me. And
Mhm.
then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, given the technology that we had in our industry today,
Yep.
we could manage portfolios. $100,000 portfolio and $1 million portfolio were basically the same thing.
Yeah.
The real custom work was being done by the advisors on the front line.
Yep.
They're kind of the battle
Okay.
weary
Yeah.
troops out there. And we
Yeah.
were sort of standing behind them, and just
Uh-huh.
we were managing the portfolios. And so it really didn't matter to us if it was a $100,000 or $1 million portfolio. The same amount of work was involved. So that logic took us to the flat fee and said, well, let's try to find the flat fee that's both a good deal for clients and
Yep.
for the advisors, but also makes economic sense for us.
Just from a economic planning side of things, is there anything in particular that you had to do on the back end to make sure, like, do you have to tighten operations from a technology side, or
Yeah.
systems in place, or how can you make sure that you can scale that model, right?
Yep.
How did that work or come to
Yeah.
be?
Yeah. So this was a very important part of the plan. So this is why we couldn't do it from an existing firm, because the existing firms are all built, around the
Right.
AUM model and their
Right.
distribution model and their technology and everything. So we really had to start from scratch. We had to make a very efficient platform
Mm-hmm.
that would, from a technology point of view, so that we could create what was essentially an assembly line for the
Mm-hmm.
management of portfolios. We also had to change the distribution model. So
Mm-hmm.
where most TAMPs in those days, and probably still to this day, they send wholesalers on an airplane out to meet one-on-one with financial advisors, which
Mm-hmm.
again, to me seemed like kind of an old idea. And now
Yeah.
after the
Yeah. Yeah.
pandemic, everybody can see the logic of it. But this
Yes.
was
Yes.
pre-pandemic. And I
Yes.
thought, well, geez, we've got all these things like Zoom and GoTo and so forth. We could just talk to advisors from our office, and we wouldn't have to incur all the expenses of airplanes and
Right.
hotels.
That
And
overhead.
and we'd be a lot more efficient because we could talk to more people, and
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't we wouldn't bother advisors by saying, well, could we get some time on your calendar 3 weeks from now? And,
Mm-hmm.
let's go to lunch and all that. An advisor could just, call up and
Hop
say, hey,
on.
I
Yep.
want to talk to you, and we would be there and available to talk. So that whole distribution model just seemed to make a lot of sense, but it also made us more efficient. It reduced the overhead associated with what we were doing. And so just all along the way, we also needed a very skilled team. We needed people who knew what they were doing and had
Mm-hmm.
been in this business before. And pretty much everybody on our team was a highly experienced person in this kind of a business. And so by just getting people who were very knowledgeable and very
Yep.
productive and very dedicated to what we were trying to do,
Right.
and using the technology that was available, we were able to scale this business up at a cost that most existing firms to this day still couldn't do. And I think that's why we're still the only flat fee TAMP out in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Is none of the big firms could really retool themselves to
To
do what
move
we're
that
doing.
quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you got the right people in the right seats, and it also sounds like people that had the industry knowledge, expertise, so you could
yeah,
smarter, faster, all
yeah,
of that. How
yeah.
about from concept of this model to actually opening doors? What did it take to get to that point? Did you have to build out a, did you have to like adjust a pre-existing technology? Did you build your own?
Yeah,
How,
so
what
so
did that
this
whole route look like?
yeah, so this was a really important part of it, and it's kind of come full circle. We can get back to that in a minute, but what one of the things we wanted to do to keep our costs low was we wanted to
Right.
find a technology infrastructure that would allow us to charge, on a per account basis, not an
Mm-hmm.
AUM based fee, but some technology provider who would say, "I'll give you the technology you need, and we'll just charge you a fixed dollar fee," because it had to fit within our flat fee, right?
Yeah.
And so Orion was the solution that we came up with. And I knew
Mhm.
Eric Clark from climbing mountains and hiking and so forth,
Yeah.
and he understood really right from the very beginning what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
And so they, to this day, have been our technology infrastructure and have allowed us to grow our business. We've more recently been purchased by a firm called GeoWealth, and
Mm-hmm.
GeoWealth has its own technology platform.
Mm-hmm.
So in the not too distant future, we'll be converting from Orion onto the GeoWealth platform, and that'll give us an added benefit. Now we'll have the technology in house, and we'll be able to
Oh, wow.
make changes and customize it and so forth at a level that you can't really do working with Orion. But
Okay, so
Orion's been a great partner, but it's time to sort of change the model again.
yeah, that no, that makes sense. I mean, to take you to a certain milestone, right? And other
Yeah,
opportunities. So you got, so just to back up, so you've had all this experience, you saw an opportunity, a gap in the market, got the right people in the right places, started to build out the infrastructure and technology. Once you got there, then how did you start to market this? I mean,
yeah.
my
This was
marketing hat can't help but ask that. What did you
right.
do? And
Yeah,
were you
no,
tapping in your current network? How did you get the word
yeah.
out there? I
So
mean,
this was
I know
the
you've talked and written, but that
yeah.
takes time. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
this was the big challenge because we did something that I don't recommend to anybody else. That is, we basically started an asset management firm with no assets under management and no track record, right? So, we went whoever we talked to, who no matter how much they liked the flat fee, they
yeah.
said, "Whoa, that's great." How much do you guys have under management? And we were, well, no, we don't
Yes.
really have it. We had a little bit of our own money under management, but it was not an impressive amount. Let me tell you. So we were really selling the concept as
Right.
opposed to the fact that we were some big firm with lots of clients and lots of assets under management. And so we appealed to the people who really cared about their clients, the
Yes.
people that really wanted to do something better for their clients, and also to advisors who had been doing the investment management stuff themselves, but who were just really either tired of doing it, they just
Mhm.
didn't want to do all the back office work and
Right.
all the work to research the building of portfolios, or they realized at some point along the way they weren't really very good at it, or they
Right.
wanted to focus on financial planning maybe
Hmm.
instead.
Hmm.
So there was this kind of movement within the advisor community of people who were looking for a better way,
Right.
a way to do
Right.
this. And so then the challenge was just to get the word out. And yeah, that involved a lot of writing. So, a lot of those 160, it's actually now
Plus, yeah,
170 papers and
sure.
articles, were designed to get the word out. And
Mhm.
we talked to people that we knew, and wherever anybody would listen to our story, we went.
Yeah.
And then you start to pick up fans along the way, people who get what you're doing. The XY Planning Network was a great opportunity for us because a lot of those people, they talk to each other a lot. They have great communication among the group,
Yeah.
and so we started there and built a lot of fans in that part of the world. And now probably 50+% of our new business comes in um, from referrals, and so people like what we do. We've, as you said, we've won a lot of awards, and that's helped
Yeah.
raise our visibility. I think we've been ranked as the #1 TAMP 4 years in a row now in the Bob
Wow.
Doris, Joel Bruckenstein survey of advisors.
Remarkable.
That's not a pay to play thing or anything. That's just
Yeah.
advisors, filling out their survey forms. And 4 years in a row, we've been ranked #1. So it's
Yeah.
pretty exciting to see that. But it's really it's partially about excuse me, partially about the flat fee, but a lot of it really is just the service level.
Yep.
As I said, the people at our firm are not only experienced, but very dedicated to what they're doing. And it's, we've kept it, it's a small group of people, and they almost all of them have been with us since the very beginning. So it's
Wow.
more of a mission than a job, I think, at this point. We had a very definite purpose in going out and trying to build a firm that would support advisors and give clients a good deal.
Hmm.
And we worried less about making a private equity firm rich, because we didn't have a private equity firm behind us, and just wanted to go out there and do the best, build the best TAMP that you could build. And that was
Yeah.
the idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Seeing a gap in the market, putting the right people in the right places, it sounds like, and just taking good care of people and making sure
Yeah.
that everyone that
Yeah.
cross paths or happened to do
Yeah.
business was well taken care of.
Yeah.
Um, so fast forward to today, I mean, now that you've sort of settled, dust has settled, right? And
Yeah.
everything, you kind of alluded in the beginning a little bit of the kind of if you call it the target that was sort of attracted
Yeah.
to this offering.
Mm-hmm.
As you've grown the business and you've, brought on new
Yep.
clientele, do you find that this model will fit a particular size of firm, or is it more of a value alignment, or is it a little bit of both
Yeah.
that could be the right fit for this kind of model?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So we don't have any advisory firms over 200 million in assets under management. And what we've found is that's kind of a pretty hard dividing line. Once firms get beyond that, most of them have started to build out the infrastructure and hire the people. They have their own
Yeah.
investment department. It's not a one or a two-person shop anymore. It's a bigger organization. And so for better or worse, they decide to do that on their own. Um, what's changed, though, the thing that's really interesting from when we started 7 years ago, is we more recently started getting requests from people who said, love that flat fee, I love the service model, but I'd like to stay more involved in the actual portfolio management process.
Hmm.
So they wanted to be either totally in charge, or they
Yeah.
wanted to share that responsibility with us. So we didn't really have a business model that worked in that environment. And so
Right.
this more recent transaction with GeoWealth has really been the answer to that for us, because their business was built for advisors who wanted to manage their own portfolios. So
Mhm.
they have the technology platform that's outstanding for advisors who want to do their own portfolio management. And then they can, the advisors can offload the trading and the performance reporting and
Yep.
billing and a lot of the back office work, but they can stay involved in the portfolio management. So now we can serve, and those advisory firms tended to be larger. I
Yes.
think the GeoWealth you know market goes up to $4 or $5 billion firms,
Yep.
who are looking for more of a technology solution than an investment management solution. So now
Hmm.
together we've got this capability to supply the technology for
Yep.
somebody who wants that, supply the service, the back office service if somebody
Yep.
wants that, and if somebody wants the asset management, we can supply that too. We have an outstanding investment committee that we developed at First Ascent, and the GeoWealth people actually have some really talented investment people too. So now we have a much
Funnel.
broader spectrum. Yeah,
Hmm.
it kind of almost too good to be true the way it all unfolded, because
Yeah.
it was probably 2 years ago we started getting these requests for customization
Okay.
in fairly large number, and we took a number of those relationships on. If they were large enough, we would try to do them, but we had bandwidth issues,
Right.
because we
Right.
didn't own our own technology. We weren't really staffed for it. There were only so many of those that we could do, and now with the GeoWealth platform, we can take on an infinite number of those. The technology will accommodate,
Yeah. So
and a
then,
much broader spectrum of requests. Yeah.
oh, that makes sense. So then you're able to then help those clients as they're growing, right? They're
Yep.
growing their firms, and then there's this
Mm-hmm.
sort of this layer on of the 2.0 as they're expanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Is there a
So
minimum of assets for a firm that would be a fit that you've noticed, or is it more?
no, I mean, I think GeoWealth has minimums,
Okay.
because in order to invest
Yes,
in
that
setting up
makes
the
fair.
technology, it really
Yes,
makes
yes,
sense.
yes.
but for us, we have advisors who are relatively experienced, but they left a firm, let's say, and
Mhm.
they couldn't bring their assets with them. So
Right.
they said, I've been in the business 10 years. I have great confidence. I can, shoot the lights out and get a new book of business. And if you'll work with me, we'll both be happy, 2 or 3 years down the road. So we
Right.
took those advisors on, and sure enough, we've been happy
Here
at
they
their
are.
growth. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's been important from our side to, you know, to just be what we set out to be, which was
Yes.
an organization that was there to help the advisors, and not try to draw artificial lines, about, well, who's going to be a really profitable client for us, and kind of
Mhm.
exclude everybody else. There was an attitude of just, we'll figure out how to make this work. Come
Yeah.
on board, and we'll take care of you. And oh, by the way, tell your friends if you like how it feels, and we'll just grow our business together. And that's
Yeah.
really how we did it. Yeah.
Yeah. That sort of champion of the group versus
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of exclusivity. And it sounds like the model is also fitting for that because you want to, there's a balance, right? Like if it's not the right fit, you want someone to be set up for the right fit. But if
Yep.
the model allows for that and you can take good care of them, then that's a
Yep.
win-win. So
Yeah.
sort of like you were saying, you realize that threshold, but now you're seeing an opportunity to now serve sort of at that next
Yeah.
threshold with
Yeah.
this technology.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Oh,
allowed us to expand what we're doing. And that's exciting, because we hated saying no to people, but
right,
if
right.
it wasn't the right fit, if we couldn't do the level of customization that they were looking for, or really give them the control over the investment management process they were looking for, we had to just say goodbye, and now we
Yeah,
don't have to anymore. So that's
yeah.
great.
So to back up a little bit, if someone were to be watching this, right, and hearing this, right, they might see a gap in the market, right? A gap for an opportunity to either start a business or to be able to better improve an
Yeah.
internal processes or what have you. What are some of your lessons learned or takeaways, that you said, I would repeat that activity, or I would repeat, or kind of something I wouldn't repeat that even before getting this going. I mean, you had a good
Yeah.
pulse, right? But did you
Yeah.
do competitive analysis? Was it talking with people? Was it just listening to what people were saying? Kind of what advice would you give to someone that is thinking about potentially taking on
Yeah.
a, a new venture or
Yeah.
taking their
Yeah.
own way
Yeah.
of doing
Well,
things?
the process that I went through, which I would highly recommend, was I talked to everybody that I could talk to about the ideas. And there, flat fee was one of the ideas. That I talked a little bit about the distribution model. There were a number of ideas. We had some ideas about the importance of educating clients to be better investors, and
Mhm.
some we had a lot of ideas about how to manage portfolios better. But so I talked to everybody I knew about those, and especially people that were in our industry, people that were leaders of some of the larger TAMPs that were going to be competitors.
Yeah,
They were, and they were all really very helpful. Alex Potts, who was at Loring Ward, and Eric Clark obviously knew what we were up to, and
yeah,
people like that were very supportive, and they said, "Hey, what you're doing is really cool, and I hope you don't take all our business." And so far we
yeah,
haven't.
yeah. They
So
saw the
there's plenty.
opportunity, and that was
Yeah,
probably
there's
validating.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's plenty of room for everybody. But I talked to people who knew a lot, from the TAMP world, and I talked to people who were in the advisor community.
right.
Would this make sense for you? And I talked to a lot of people that I had worked with over the years, and just really tried to test the idea. And I did that probably for 8 months or so.
Okay.
It was a
Sort
it
of a
was a
pulse, a little bit of a market analysis,
yeah,
sort of.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
as much as I could. Now you have to be careful when you do that, because everybody you talk to is going to have a different opinion about things, right? So
fair.
if you've
Yep.
got a great idea, um, don't be dissuaded just because some of the people you talk to don't see it, maybe,
Yep.
or
Yep.
or kind of see the world a different way, kind of stuck
Mhm.
in maybe in the old ways of doing things. But appreciate the fact that just because somebody hasn't thought of something yet doesn't mean it's not a good idea.
Right.
Just we tend to be herd animals in a lot of ways, and we continue to do the things that have always been done. And so it takes a little bit of boldness to step out of that and say, no, I think I see a different, better way to do it.
Yeah.
No, don't, I guess what I'm saying is believe in yourself, but also, trust but verify, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Go out there and let people bang on your idea and see. I mean, our idea about how this was going to unfold changed once we got out into the marketplace. It wasn't the flat fee that we came out with initially wasn't the flat fee we ended up with a year later, and it's changed over time as we got more
Yes.
information. We were able to modify what we were doing to adapt to what the market was telling us, and
Mm.
and that was the most important thing. We didn't. A lot of the firms I've been at in the past have really really smart people who think they know the right answer
Yep.
to everything, or to at least
Yeah.
some things, and they build the thing that they like and that they want. And
Right.
First Ascent has been a real eye opener for me, in the sense of just saying you don't have to know everything yourself. If you go out into the
Market.
market will
Yep.
tell you very quickly
Yep.
what you got right and what you got wrong,
That's
and you
right.
should be ready to adapt to that. And
Yeah.
then that's what we did, and it worked
Yeah.
for us.
Smart. Such good insight. I mean, just hearing your story and where you've taken it. And I think also
Mm-hmm.
just being able to feel the market and then, where it's going. I mean, I think especially just being on the cutting edge of technology, and
Yeah,
there's a lot
yeah,
of that out there, and it's changing very
yeah,
fast with
yeah. No, well,
ChatGPT and all kinds of things,
yeah,
right? So,
exactly. Well, that was the real evolution for us. Was we started out thinking we needed to outsource the technology,
right.
to Orion, and that really worked for us. But things have come full circle, and now we're seeing the benefits of being part of the GeoWealth organization, of
Mhm.
having the technology in house and being able to react even to a broader set of requests from advisors. Things that we couldn't change about the technology, now we can change because it's under the same roof with us,
Yep. Yeah.
and so it's just really worked out well for us.
Well, I know we're at the top of our time, which I feel like it's
Sure.
gone by very fast. But I really appreciate you sharing. Are there any final thoughts that you like to share, or any words of wisdom, or
No, I would just encourage people who have ideas that they believe in, ways that they think they can make the world better. Maybe that's too big of a statement, but just if you can find some way to do things in a different way that will improve the lot of the people that you're serving, whether that's financial advisors or whoever it may be. Don't just uh, ignore it because it might be hard. It's going to be really hard.
it is.
However hard you think it's going to be way harder than that. But if you believe in something and you have the passion for it, just go for it. There's failure is got a bad name. Failure is just kind of a learning experience that didn't quite
Yeah.
go the way you wanted. And so I think people who try things and get out there in the arena and try to make things happen, that's really very laudable, and you should go for it.
Courageous, absolutely. Well, appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing the journey and story
Sure,
and
Lauren.
expertise, to be able to get to this place. And then also, thank you for sharing your your knowledge about this model and practice management and all those sorts of things with this
Yep.
community. So it takes a
Yep.
village, and
Yep.
appreciate you taking the time.
Okay. Well, it's been my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. We
Okay.
look forward to following along, and we'll make sure in the write up to include all the links and such as we've discussed. So,
Great. Thanks a lot, Lauren.
thank you.
Mhm.